Today's tech entrepreneurs are finding new and interesting ways to start a business. And a bit of luck are the ingredients necessary to bring these technological ideas to life. From developing a technology idea, to finding a high potential opportunity, to gathering the proper resources, to figuring out how to sell and market the idea. Sit back and take 10 for tech on the D Factor Radio Show.
Oh, yes. You are listening to the D Factor Radio Show. We are taking 10 for tech. And I have so super psyched right now for the gentleman that I am introducing. Listen, this Norfolk-based, I don't know if he's from Norfolk, but his company is based out of Norfolk, Virginia. That's my Maryland accent y'all hear coming out. He has started a startup that aims to assist musicians in creating their music. And he's doing this through technology, which I love. Vinyl Mint is a place where pro musicians can go and collaborate, where you can get the best sounds. It is the fastest growing marketplace for digital sound creators. Can we get a round of applause for the one and the only, should I say it? Byron. Byron, hey Byron, how are you?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Byron Morgan, you are absolutely, totally, let me say, I am excited to have you on the show this evening. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. And I appreciate the invite, and I'm thankful to be here.
Awesome. Listen, tell us about Vinyl Mint. What is Vinyl Mint, and how is it beneficial for us out here who are musicians?
Yeah, so it works in two ways. It's a way for creative directors and art directors to find the sounds that they need for their films, their video content, their digital advertising content, their shorts, all kinds of things that they may be creating audio visuals for. They need sounds for, and that may come in the form of voiceovers, translation, sound effects, and instrumentals. And as we know, there's a huge community around the world for people who are creating sounds. I mean, in fact, when we talk, there's over 250 million members in the SoundCloud community.
Yeah.
Right? So there's this global audience of sound creators, and what we want to do is help them basically monetize their content at a higher price point than these alternatives, the alternatives that exist, and bring them together to create and find new sounds that exist or with people that they've never collaborated with.
So this has been a big endeavor. I mean, how hard was it for you to develop the technology behind Vinyl Mint and making it perfect? I mean, because the user interface is absolutely amazing. It's very appealing to the eye. How challenging was it to get the right technology, the right platform for Vinyl Mint?
So when we initially started, we set out to, take over the world, which, to be honest, it was a huge undertaking that crashed and burned kind of quickly. We had created a collaborative tool that allowed musicians to essentially record without being in the same location at the same time. And it grew and brought together a lot of people in a very short period of time. I mean, literally overnight, we grew to about 4,000 users.
Wow.
And next thing, but the thing is we did not have a revenue model in place, and we were focused on scaling and growing the community, but we found out we were going to run out of money because we hadn't raised money in time to support the growth.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so that was a very, very interesting time. But literally, within less than 10 months, we turned the company around. But because we won the opportunities that were opening up in crowdsourcing, right? And with companies now moving more towards a freelancer marketplace, a freelance work structure, it played naturally into our hands because companies need tools that allow them to manage distributed talent. So essentially, once finding those opportunities and understanding what creative directors, pain points around what creative directors had and art directors had, and freelance content producers had around finding sounds. Naturally, it just kind of evolved from that. And we still really value feedback from our users who help us and guide us in the direction we should be going with the designs and the feel and the features of the site.
So how is this? How do you charge for this service? What's the cost for someone to get involved?
So it costs the sound creator nothing to join the site. And it will never cost them anything to ever join the site.
Okay.
Because it is our gift to them to help them to make money on the sounds that they've created in perpetuity. And in turn, we just take a small percentage to help the brokering and the placement of those sounds for them. And then they can make the decisions on what they want to do with it, and they will always own their sounds. We're nothing more than agents in placing their sounds for them in social libraries and asset libraries that are full of attentive buyers for their sounds. And then on the creative director, art director side, this typically costs nothing until you find something you like. So you create a contest for free for the type of sound that you're looking for. Just give me the requirements, or submit the requirements to our system, and basically the community creates compositions for you for free. And you essentially don't pay anything until you find something you like.
I love that. I love that. That is absolutely an idea that I am so glad that you unleashed, because it is something that is needed. My brother is a band director for the high school, one of the high schools in the Charleston area, but he writes music, and I think he's just storing it on his hard drive at home. And so this is a great place for him to actually store his music, own the music, and then also to be able to bid on other things, that requests that people have for music, and to grow his passion. Is that what I'm understanding?
That's exactly right.
I love it. I absolutely love this. What do you need from us as your listening audience? How can we support the growth of your platform? What can we do?
Well, honestly, it's this simple. Just go to vinylmint.com and sign up. Take a look at the opportunities that are available. I mean, we've done things for educational institutions on down to mobile applications and web applications, some that are even popular apps and teleconferencing tools. So, it's about you joining the community, because the community is what makes our site special. It's what made Facebook special, right?
Right.
Then the only way you joined or are active in Facebook is if you have another person to contact or connect with within that community. If you didn't, then Facebook falls apart miserably, right? But because you had the ability to connect directly with someone, it makes Facebook a special place. Well, this is what we're doing with VinylMint, is building those interactions in a different way from a SoundCloud or a YouTube, with talented musicians and voice actors and translators, and creating a more attentive audience around the sound. So what does that mean? Again, sign up at VinylMint, take a look at the opportunities, submit your stuff to our contest and our sound library placement opportunities, and let us be a conduit to help you make money, and trust us to do the right thing, especially in a world where, we read the horror stories about people selling, 400,000 sounds or 1 million downloads or streams in Spotify and Pandora, and only making $400 checks or $4,000 checks, right?
Is that real? That's really what's going on?
These are real stories.
Wow.
So, I want them to know that we're going to create a way for you to make money in perpetuity, meaning forever, and we also want to be a trusted place for helping you to build value for your work through the types of clients that we bring to the community.
I love that. I don't know if I asked you this because I'm so caught up into everything that you're saying, but you do music? You do music production as a whole as well, right?
Yeah. That's why I started. I was young in high school and realized that I loved prior to even high school. I loved poetry, and then I realized that poetry and a lot of the poets were godfathers to what we know of as hip hop. Then I got into people like, of course, Mos Def, now Yasin Bey, and Talib and Khan.
Yes. Now you're speaking my language here.
So I got caught up in the roots and Black Thought. I got caught up in that their sound, and it drew me into the culture. And from there, I mean, I've just been writing. Just writing music as well as producing music that reminds me of their influences or reminds me of people that I've adopted as influences in my life, like the Count Basie's and Cab Calloway and Ella Fitzgerald, and people like that. I've adopted them into my world. The Thelonious Monks and the Chick Corea.
You're getting me excited over here. I love I love music.
So these are people that have inspired me, and even the people like Nirvana. I can go on and on about people that have inspired me, and I know now that these were people and elements that inspired them, and I try to relive, I guess, what they were creating in my productions, and that's kind of where this came from. It all started from a teenager being inspired by that, and then wanting to find a way to make money on music because it's a passion of mine. So to make people feel good. So I
think we have a caller for you, Nicholas Blake. I want to just bring him on the call and kind of let him say something. Hey, Nicholas.
Hey, how are you, Dee? How are you?
I'm amazing. Thank you. How are you today?
Good.
Do you have a question for Byron? Yes? No? Nicholas?
Hello?
Yep. Can you hear me? Hello, Nicholas. I think we lost you. Give us a call back if you have a question, Byron. I think he was overwhelmed by the platform. I think that he loved exactly what he heard. So that's a great thing. Listen, Byron, can you tell the world again how they can reach you and spell Vinyl Mint? I love the name, so that they'll know exactly where they need to go.
Yeah. So check us out at vinylmint.com, and that's vinyl, like the vinyl record, VINYL, mint, like the bank mint, or peppermint, MINT.com. So vinylmint.com, and you can check us out on Twitter as well at Vinyl Mint, and Facebook /Vinyl Mint. Join our community, start conversations, get involved. Check out the opportunities, right? And join us. And feel free to give us feedback. I mean, my email is nothing more than byron@vinylmint.com.
Awesome. Listen, Byron, I have Nicholas back on the line. He wants to call in. Let's see if we can get him. Nicholas, are you there?
Yes. Hi.
Hi. I lost you for a minute there.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a bad connection. I'm calling in. I actually own my own business, and I'm just calling in to see if he could give any specific tips to have a successful business going forward. As far as moving forward, you have grown the company by yourself to 4 or 5 people. Does he have any knowledge or any tips to give anybody that has reached a point to where maybe you need an investor?
Byron, would you like to answer that?
Certainly. I mean, I think first and foremost, the most important thing is to get to a point where you're generating revenue in a sustainable fashion, right? You can say that you reliably generate, you have a reliable source of revenue, and you can say that every month from this activity, I can make $4,000, right? And I can predictably say that every 3 weeks or every 4 weeks, this is typically the traffic that I get, and I need this many things to break even, right? So when you can start to, I guess what I'm saying in a nutshell is when you can start to quantify what it is that you're doing, right, and explain to somebody how if you give me another $50,000, I can optimize in these areas to increase these numbers, then that gets an investor excited, right? When you can start talking to them about the data, because then they can visualize in their head, well, if I give you X amount of dollars, it will create X. That's the key. People are a sign of doing good, but adding people just to be adding people without creating any revenue is tough. It's very, very tough. And that's people who are in this for a passion project, right? They believe in it. And that may not necessarily be your founding, your long-term team, but they may be a founding team helping you get to a certain point, and that's okay. And everybody knows that that's sometimes what happens, right? I mean, even with Facebook and Eduardo, right? I mean, they started it together, but they didn't end it together, and that's typical of businesses. So hiring people are good, but at the end of the day, it's always about revenue. Revenue is the key indicator to how you signal a business's success. So
right. I think what I'm really looking for is I've reached that point. My company has reached a point where it's profitable. For 3 years now, I've grown it myself, and I have 5 other people that I brought on, on commission based, because commission you make the most money.
Sure.
And we're doing really, really well. And I've had angel investors come forward, as far as wanting to invest in the company because they see.
So what do you? I guess my question is, all right. So, what my question is, if you've had angels approach you, why aren't you taking their money?
Well, and the reason why is because they're looking for too much of the company for what they're offering. And I think, and I also know that there's no specific magic, where it tells you exactly what your company's worth. I understand that much.
Yeah.
But if you're making $100,000, say, a year, with the company, what can you possibly ask for? Like if an angel investor comes up to you and says, we want to give you, $100,000 for 40% of the company. Obviously, to me, that I'm giving up too much, equity in the company for that amount of money. What would you recommend as far as?
No, I completely agree with you on that, on what you're saying. I can see what you're alluding to. My thoughts on it are this: you should always find investors, one, that know your space. Two, you have to find investors who understand this philosophy or understand your philosophy for growth and what your vision is, right? And does that mean that they come into your company understanding that they want a little bit of a very big pie, and not going into your company saying they want a whole lot of a small pie, right? Because those things can affect your growth. When people come and take too much equity too early on, and as you know that, it's important for the investors that you bring on to know that as well. You want investors that align with your values and what you believe in and what your long-term vision is. You also want investors that have industry contacts. Those are things that are extremely important because those investors typically help you with exits which is why you see certain companies and most VC portfolios exit to another company in that portfolio, or exit to a fund where a partner just left that VC firm to go to that other fund.
Byron, hold that thought. Listen, Nicholas and Byron, we are like completely at the end of the show.
Oh, okay.
And Nicholas, can you stay on the line? I want to get your contact information. I want to get you back on the show. You have some great questions. Byron's doing an amazing job answering a lot of those questions. I think having you back on the show as a guest to ask some of those questions would definitely be great. Would you mind staying on the line with me for a second?
Sure.
Okay, awesome. Byron, I am so humbled that you have taken this time out. Thank you so much for being on the D Factor Radio Show. I definitely want to have you back again if you're open to that. Say yes.
Sure.
Okay, awesome. You're listening to the D Factor Radio Show, guys.